Hi guys, I am 29 weeks pregnant, and there are still moments where this feels completely surreal. And then there are moments when it feels very real because I can feel these super strong kicks in my belly, and I can see him moving in my belly, and that makes it feel very real. But last night, Josh and I were putting up some more decorations in the nursery, and I just kind of looked around the room and went like, this is me, this is my life. I've waited 4 years. Well, I've waited my whole life, but we struggled for 4 years with infertility, and now we're putting together a nursery. It's just completely, absolutely wonderful. So if you are going through this journey still and you have not conceived, I want to tell you, don't stop believing and don't give up. So I went to the midwife yesterday. I'm out of breath because I just went for a walk. I am very happy to say that his heartbeat is exactly where they want it to be, and what's it called? Blood pressure is exactly where it should be. She said that he's probably head down from what she can feel, but it was hard for her to feel because my belly had a lot of fluid in it, and that made my belly kind of harder, but she thinks he is head down, and my belly was measuring bigger than my gestational age, so she said he probably just had a growth spurt. Today, we are going to start getting some fun supplies for the baby shower, some games, maybe some decorations. I'm going with my grandma and my friend who's throwing the baby shower. I go and do a little bit of shopping. I'm excited. Josh and I were just talking about the things that we can't wait for when he gets here, and Josh was like, you've been a newborn care specialist. This is all gonna be, you know, old news to you, but this is all new to me, and I can't wait to see him do things that are new to him. He's someone who is so wonderful with his animals that I know he's going to be so wonderful with his animal. Here's a little sneak preview of our baby shower venue. Isn't it beautiful? I think so. I had read that it's normal to have these like leg cramps that can happen, but last night in the middle of the night I literally woke up screaming in pain, and it felt like there was a brick in my calf muscle. And I tried to straighten my calf muscle out, and then I had to go like and breathe all crazy. And it was really, really intense. So I looked it up online, and apparently that's very normal. Lots of people during pregnancy have leg cramps. And I am gonna go get myself some magnesium because apparently that can help. This is the magnesium that I'm gonna be taking, and my midwife approved, so let's hope it works fast. You guys know I wouldn't make a video without a belly shot. Here you go. Belly. Rounder and rounder, and the kicks are getting stronger and stronger, and he's getting bigger and bigger, and I am more and more grateful. And yes, that is my belly button that's kind of sticking out right there, if you're noticing that. That is, in fact, my belly button. It's popping out. You guys actually sent me several different questions, and I selected some to answer in this video. I will give a disclaimer. I wanted to avoid any controversial topics, so I'm staying away from things like politics, religion, vaccination, circumcision, all of the topics that tend to create heated discussions. I just kind of chucked out. Now, after I told my husband I was gonna keep those questions out, he said, you know, there's a good chance that any question you go over could strike up a heated conversation. So just know that what I'm gonna tell you are just my answers to some of the questions that I've chosen, and if you feel differently, I totally respect that we all can feel differently. That's the beauty of the world we live in. So the first question was, when you're going through the IVF process, is it okay to be intimate, or do you have to abstain until it's completed? And that's actually a great question. I would suggest you specifically ask your doctor. There were portions of the journey where we were told not to have intercourse. And then there were portions of the journey where we were told it was okay. So it depends on whether you're doing natural IVF or conventional IVF. I have heard, you know, I went natural IVF, but some people who did do the conventional IVF have told me that they were in a lot of pain. They had no interest. So that's also something to consider. The next question is, what is the difference between natural IVF and regular IVF? So I actually did a pretty extensive video about this. I'm going to encourage you guys to go look through the fertility playlist on my channel because I get into all the details. But the short answer is that conventional IVF is about helping you create as many eggs as you can because it's sort of a numbers game. And so there are a lot of medications, there's a lot of needles, there's a lot of chemicals and hormones that you do introduce to your body to get your body to do something that it wouldn't normally do. Natural IVF is quite the opposite. They don't focus on you creating tons and tons of eggs, but instead it's quality over quantity. So you'll naturally produce anywhere from 1 to 3 eggs a month on average, and the quality of those eggs are really high when you aren't given hormones and chemicals and medications and so forth. So natural IVF is where they go in and they remove the eggs that you actually did produce, and from there the IVF process is pretty similar both for natural IVF and for conventional, in that if you want them to do the ICSI process, they can, and then they can put that egg back inside of your body, fertilized, so that you can have a higher chance of conception. Next question, what infertility issues did you struggle with and how do you cope with them? So I was actually diagnosed with something called bilateral hydrosalpinx, and that is where both fallopian tubes are not only blocked, but I had fluid in them. I spent several years doing every natural alternative that I could find or think of to try and clear my fallopian tubes. And we ultimately decided that it would be best to have them removed because they were doing more damage than good. And of course, if you check through my channel, you'll see all the videos leading up to the surgery, including the actual surgery where my tubes were removed. That one was graphic. Next question, what led you to natural IVF? Well, the truth is, I am a certified newborn care specialist and postpartum doula, so I knew from all of my clients' experiences what it was like to go through IVF, and it wasn't something that I wanted to do. I was going through all different natural alternatives. I was going to a fertility acupuncture doctor, and she actually suggested I look into something called natural IVF. And at first I was totally against it because I do have a pretty significant fear of needles, and I'm not someone who wanted to go down the traditional IVF route. But when she told me that there were very, very minimal needles, in one case I think there was 1 needle, that was it, and that was to do the trigger shot. And then a different month I did 2 trigger shots. I was a lot more open-minded at that point. And then I learned about Life IVF Center, which was not close to me, but it didn't matter because I saw their reviews. I saw that Dr. Yillian, who was the doctor I went to, was #1 rated doctor in California, I think #6 in the United States. It just made sense to me to learn more. So I went to a seminar, and at that seminar was when I learned how amazing natural IVF was and how high the success rates were. And what's cool too is that you're not paying for all the medications that you would normally pay for with conventional, so the cost is a lot cheaper. So that's what led me to natural IVF. Next question, with your sugar allergy, I'm allergic to sugar for those of you who don't know, can you eat pasta or other carbs, or do you have to eat paleo or be on a special diet? So even though I am allergic to sugar, I do still eat things that break down into sugar, digest as sugar, or are just straight sugar. So for example, I had a banana yesterday, and this morning I just had a little rash, a breakout, and the rash happens in different parts of my body, but usually it's like over my fingers, my knuckles, my hands. If I eat pasta, the same thing happens. If I have a candy bar, the same thing happens. It doesn't matter what type of sugar it is, if it's a natural sugar or if it's a Snickers bar, which I rarely ever have, it does affect me the same way. So I do try to eat lower carbs unless they're complex carbs, and I avoid eating things that are high in sugar for the most part. Now I try to live in balance. So if I'm going to a birthday party and there's birthday cake and ice cream, maybe I'll have a little of one or the other. I won't have a lot of both. So I won't have a bunch of cake and a bunch of ice cream, but maybe I'll have a little bit of ice cream, and the next day I do sometimes pay the price. More times than not, I break out with a rash. How many kids do we plan on? 2. We plan on 2 kids, but you know, I thought that we could plan a lot more than we can in life. So right now we're fortunate enough to be conceiving or pregnant with 1 little boy, and our goal is to have 1 more child after this. If for whatever reason it wasn't meant to happen naturally, with natural IVF that is, then we are open to adoption. Okay, next question is, when you see grandparents do something that they did with their babies, how do I diplomatically tell them without hurting their feelings that this is not the way we want it done? I don't know if this question is meant for me to answer as a mom or as a newborn care specialist. But because I haven't had my baby yet, I'm going to answer it as a newborn care specialist. And when I've seen grandparents do things that we no longer do with babies, the best way that I have found to go about it is to just kindly educate them. And I'll say something along the lines of, I know that it's so adorable when they sleep on their belly and they look so comfortable because they sleep so well, but unfortunately studies are showing that the SIDS risk, which is sudden infant death syndrome, is higher when they do sleep on their bellies. So I'd love to show you some ways that they can sleep on their back where they're still super comfortable and sleeping really well, but also not at risk for SIDS. And then, you know, kind of say something along those lines. And if they say, well, my kids all slept on their belly and they're fine, I'll say, yeah, and that's probably true in many cases. We just know that there's a higher risk, and so we try to avoid increasing any risks that are harmful for our babies at this point. I don't want them to feel attacked, but I just want them to know that we have studies and information now that tell us that doing things differently is safer. I try to keep it just fact-based and not something like, what are you doing? Don't do it like that, because no one's feelings need to be hurt in the process. That's not the goal. The last question I'm going to go over was actually my favorite question. Do you feel like you have mentally gotten past the heartbreak of infertility yet? Oh my gosh, when that question got submitted, I just stopped in my tracks and went, whoa, that is such a good question. I still feel sad that it took us almost 4 years to have a baby because we have had deaths in our family, and they will not have ever met this little boy, at least here on this planet Earth. So that's still sad. But when I went to the seminar, the Natural IVF seminar, and I was their guest speaker not that long ago, there was a moment when I realized that all of this was meant to happen. There was a moment when I realized that everything had happened exactly how it was supposed to. And that made everything okay. So I feel a lot more at peace with my journey with infertility based on the fact that I have this knowing that it was all meant to be. One of the reasons that I say it was all meant to be is because so many lives have been touched by me sharing my videos and documenting everything. And so many babies are being born because I have talked about natural IVF so openly. Most people don't even know natural IVF exists. I didn't, and I'm a newborn care specialist, so you'd think if anybody would know, I would have known. So I'm really grateful that that has opened up so many opportunities for so many people. And if this had to happen in order for that to happen, then I would do it all over again. No question about it. Another part about the infertility journey that is still a little heartbreaking is knowing that we don't ever have the likeliness. There's no possibility for us to just have a baby. You know, you hear these stories where people will say, oh, it's so crazy. My sister, she struggled with infertility, but then she had her second baby. Like, it just happened without them even trying. They didn't go through IVF and they didn't do any fertility medication. They just got pregnant. It was crazy. That will never be us. We will never be that story. I don't have fallopian tubes. That can't be us. But the plus side of that is that we don't have to be on birth control. I don't have to put that in my body. And when we truly are ready for our next baby, then we can start the process of doing that. So there's sort of a sweet and sour side to that. I do believe everything happens for a reason. I do believe what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I'm so grateful to have all of you who have supported me along my journey, because if it wasn't for this journey, I would have never met you guys. So I do feel very much so grateful. I feel at peace with my infertility journey, but anytime I talk to someone who's still struggling and still hasn't conceived, I go right back mentally to that sad place. I can feel their pain. I will never forget their pain. And that is why you guys don't hear me complain very much on my videos about any pregnancy ailments that I have. I try to make light of it. Even the cramp in my leg that I was describing to you guys, I try to make fun with it and not take it too seriously, because at the end of the day, I know that I wanted this more than anything. And if back pain is going to happen, or if a leg cramp is going to happen, so what? I will take that and I will not complain. Whenever I hear moms that are pregnant complain more than they sound grateful, it always affects me negatively, because I feel like, gosh, those things that you're complaining about, so many people are praying for. So many people are praying for the stretch marks. So many people are praying for sore boobs. So many people are praying for backaches and having a hard time sleeping at night and peeing every 20 minutes, because that means you're pregnant. And so many people are praying for a pregnancy. So with that being said, guys, I will always continue to do my best to be grateful. If I ever say that something hurts, I'll always say, but I'm still grateful, and I'm not, going to focus on that, because at the end of the day, I do have a miracle baby growing in my belly. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have not subscribed and you'd like to, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and you can share this video with anybody who might want some of the information that I went over. Bye, guys.